Good morning, everybody. My name is Laura Leyland, and I'm going to introduce you to Kim Antonio, our project manager, who's going to get us started. And we'll kick off now.
Thank you, Laura. We'll start with our acknowledgement of country. So I'd like to recognise the Ued people of the Noongar Nation, on whose traditional lands we meet today, and those joining us from around the rest of Western Australia. We acknowledge the continuing connection that Aboriginal people have with the land, sea, culture and community of this great state. And from a food industry perspective, we recognise the value that a knowledge of traditional bush foods and bush medicines can have on the development of the West Australian food industry. And DPIRD recognises elders past, present and emerging. Thank you.
Okay, welcome everyone. Today's session format has come at the end of the first series of these regional roadshows. So at the end of last year, we visited the Great Southern, Midwest, Southwest, the Peel, Metro and Wheatbelt regions. And this is our version of this that's going to be recorded, as you can see here, and we have got some other CRCs online at the moment that are joining us, and it's to wrap up this first series. So we've come together to facilitate this session from Gingin. So online we have got Broome CRC, Carnarvon CCI, Dandaragan CRC, and Esperance CCI. So welcome to everybody. For those of you in the room here, the toilets are located just down the hall and on the left. Help yourself to tea and coffee at the back of the room and morning tea. And lunch will be served at 12 o'clock. So this session is being recorded and you'll receive a copy of the access to the link as well as a copy of the slides. So anything that you see today, the contacts for who to get in touch with afterwards, you'll have access to all of that. So you won't need to take too many notes, just know that you'll get a copy of everything afterwards. For your information and as a reminder to our presenters in the room, if you guys have any questions in this room, we are just going to talk through the microphone so everyone in the online sections can hear us, and for the purpose of the recording as well. So please ask questions as the need arises. We'll be monitoring the chat online for any questions as we go, or you can raise the your hand, raise hand function, and feel free to use the microphone options on your end as well. So something to think about today. These questions, please keep in mind, and we'll come back to them at the end of the session. So you can write your questions down on a note in front of you, or you can shout out to us throughout the session and we can make some notes on it. But basically what we're asking here is to list out 3 to 5 challenges and issues that your business faces that are impeding your ability to sustainably expand. 3 to 5 key opportunities or other areas of potential growth that your business is currently exploring or would like to explore. And as part of our ongoing support from DPIRD, how are we going with what we currently offer and what else would you like to see? So before we get into the session, I'd like to introduce you to the staff members today. So we're part of the Food Industry Innovation team at DPIRD. Our program manager is Kim Antonio. Our senior development consultants in the room is Phil May and David Levers, who you'll be hearing from a bit later. And I'm Laura Leyland, a project support officer. So we're all based in the Perth office, but we have team members in Narrogin, Albany and Bunbury. But we'll go into more detail about the way that our team was formed and where we fit into in DPIRD a bit later on. Throughout the day, when we mention each of the programs, you'll see different contact details. So that's each person that's in charge of the programs who will be the best contact for if you're interested in participating in any of those programs. So now we'd like to ask each of you to just quickly introduce yourself. So we're going to have you say your name, business name, and what product or business offering you have if it's not obvious from your business name. So we're going to go across all the venues joining us today. We're going to do this alphabetically. So we'll go Broome, then to Carnarvon, Dandaragan, Esperance, and finally finish back here in the room for Gingin. Those watching the recording online are also encouraged to add a comment and let us know where you're joining from and introduce your business. So can we go to Broome, please?
Hi everyone, I'm Sharona. I'm the CRC assistant in Broome and I'll be facilitating the session. We are still expecting a couple of guests, so bear with me, but this is Dan and I'll let him introduce himself.
G'day, Dan Healy from Broome Bush Sodas. We manufacture soft drinks, I suppose, low sugar, natural soft drinks made with local Indigenous and native ingredients from the West Kimberley region.
Okay, I don't think Carnarvon's online yet. Okay, so we'll go to Dandaragan. Andrea?
Hi everybody, my name's Andrea. I'm from the Dandaragan Community Resource Centre. We run a shopfront program here where we help people that have small startup businesses get a leg up, and that's a little bit what we're doing here with Jen today.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Ivermy. My company name is Genovation, and I'm a caterer and I provide jams, biscuits, baked goods, catering. And the CRC is helping me.
Hi, I'm Beck. I have Badger Tavern, the pub in Badgingarra nearby, and we do a lot of cooking, a lot of catering and events.
And we're just waiting on one more person who's a camel farmer.
Oh, great.
Awesome.
Just around the corner.
Just around the corner.
All right, thank you.
They produce camel milk.
Esperance, we can hear you. So if you want to... Nope, you want to take a little bit more time? That's fine. We'll head over to who's in the room here at Gingin and we can come back to Esperance. All right, so we'll start here.
Hi, my name's Veronica. I'm from Australian Black Limes and we grow and produce black limes into various spices and whole limes.
Hi, I'm Helen Cripps. I'm a bit of a ring-in, but I'm associated with Blackwood Valley Distilleries because they make a gin called Cripps Pink Gin, which is made with pink lady apples, which my father bred.
Hi, I'm Jess Alp and I'm from Wakedale Farm. We produce beef and lamb and sell direct to consumers.
Morning everyone, my name's Paul, this is Robin, my partner. We run Blue Izazov's hot sauce. It's a 100% natural and locally made hot sauce.
Good morning, my name's Selga. I am the processing manager at Loose Leaf.
Oh, that's all you do?
That's all you do. I pass it to you.
Hi, I'm Maureen. I'm one of the owners of the Loose Leaf Lettuce Company. We produce fresh cut salads in Gingin.
Hi, I'm Deanne. I'm from Northern Valley's Fruit Pops, where I source local fruit mostly and turn it into fruit icy poles.
Thank you. Good morning. My name's Julie Drummond. I'm with Local Goat and we produce cheeses and also gelato in Gingin.
Oh, I love cheeses. I love cheeses. I'm coming against some cheese. Jim Trandos, I'm the managing director of Trandos Farms. We grow corn and beans here in Gingin and in Broome actually seasonally and Wanneroo. And we also run some cattle down the road. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sarah from Trandos Farms. We grow sweet corn and green beans in Broome and Gingin.
Cool. All right, thank you everyone. Can we go back to Esperance if you're ready? Still not ready? That's okay. If you want to chuck it in the chat, who's in the room, that can just give us a bit of an idea of who you've got there. That's fine. Cool. All right, as long as you can hear us and know that, yep, you'll get a copy of this recording plus the slides later on. Okay, so let's get started. First up, we're going to go through some of the events that we run. So the team run a series of workshops and webinars throughout the year and take these to the regions where the topic has been most demanded. As we're planning our events calendar for the coming year, we're asking everyone to complete this survey through the link or the QR code and nominate what topics you would like to learn more about and in which regions, so we know where to go. This is a list of events at a glance. Each of these upcoming events will have a link in them for you to click once you receive your slides and learn more about and even register your interest to attend. But now I'll go into a little bit more about each of them. So the AgriFutures Evoke Ag 2024 event is held next week, on the main event being Tuesday and Wednesday. But there are also side events running from the 18th of February to the 27th of February. So for those of you who don't know about Evoke Ag, it is the premier agri-food innovation event in the Asia Pacific that brings together thought leaders and change makers in agriculture, food, manufacturing, research, innovation, investment and policy from around the world to connect for a more resilient, productive and profitable agricultural sector. As of yesterday, the attendance was nearing its maximum capacity of 2,000 people. So if you are thinking about attending, make sure you check out the program and get your tickets. Have you ever thought about using a research idea to help you grow your business? If you have an idea, this is a program that could be for you. So the CSIRO Innovate to Grow program partners businesses with research mentors to explore business-specific research ideas. It's a virtual program that will commence in April and run for 10 weeks. It's free to participate in, and the expressions of interest should be opening on the 19th of February. So it's a good idea to start thinking about how your business can benefit from participating in this program. Have a research idea ready to go for the expressions of interest opening soon. Turning the Dial is WA's flagship sustainability event for the food and beverage sector. The three key themes of this event, you can see here, are food waste reduction, sustainable packaging innovation, ESG leadership. And we invite you to express your interest in attending this event, so you'll be the first to know when early bird tickets are available. So are there any questions about the events so far? Nothing on the chat? Esperance are ready? Visible. Would you like to introduce yourself then?
Want us to introduce ourselves? Is that
yes,
what you just said?
We can hear you.
Hi, sorry about that. This big screen's much better, but we had some IT issues with it. Over here we have Anne from Yuri Grove. Can you see us? We've got the blinds open. Can you actually see us?
It's a bit shadowy, but we can see your figures.
We're just going to close some of the blinds now so you can see us a little bit better. I'll just throw to each individual business owner to introduce themselves and which business they're representing. So we've got Anne.
Yeah, Anne O'Neill from Yuri Grove. We grow olives, make olive oil, and we've got a farm shop and restaurant.
And we have Claire over here.
From Seduce, small food and drink takeaway kiosk selling paninis, juices, smoothies, acai bowls, etc.
Catherine?
Hi, I'm from Bistro Louis. We're a French bistro. We opened about 2 years ago and have been pretty excited about the growth of the business and just want to see where we can go next.
And Ian, married to another Catherine?
Ian and my wife have a Radius Ice Cream and Cafe.
And Nigel Metz has just walked in, and he is from Lucky Bay Brewing, which probably speaks for itself, but you're welcome to say something about your business if you would like.
We use grain that we grow here.
And we also have Anna and Kevin from Esperance Honey on their way, and Ernest from Hellfire Bay Sauce. The honey probably speaks for itself, but Hellfire Bay Sauce is, if it's not obvious, a super hot sauce produced locally here in Esperance. Thank you.
Thanks, that's great. Okay, I'm going to pass over now to David Levers to kick off with our first program discussion.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is David Levers. I'm here today to talk to you about the Domestic Market Pathways program that we're going to be running later in the year to help business learn about the supermarkets, the domestic market, and able to grow domestically, not only in WA but also within the Eastern Seaboard. So we're bringing in some industry experts who have experience in the domestic market, not only the grocery market, but also the food service sector and liquor sector as well, if that's of interest to you. So we're looking to deliver the program commencing in April and delivering it over a number of days, but spread out over a month or 2 months actually. So we're not taking up too much time out of any given week for you. So delivered in modules and catering to SMEs. You can register your interest in the program through the code there or through the email as well. So you'll benefit from exclusive insights and expertise through modular program delivered by industry experts. The program facilitates crucial networking opportunity with key buyers from both Western Australia and the Eastern States retailers and distributors. This engagement aims to foster business partnerships, opening doors to expanded distribution networks and market reach. We'll also have tailored one-on-one support for each participant to address specific challenges and opportunities within their business. Which button? Thank you. So this is just an overview of the program, the different areas that will be covered, and it'll be in depth. The first day will be module 1, so that'll be a whole day. The second day will be a half day, module 2, but with one-on-one meetings with the consultant to assist you in developing your business. And module 3 will, again, one-on-one with the consultant. So there's a number of consultants that will help deliver the program depending on what sector you would like to go into, be it supermarkets, food service, liquor. And then they'll facilitate getting you ready for buyer meetings, letting you understand what the retailer's requirements are to enter into the supermarkets, liquor trade or food service. So covering off all of those areas, but also looking critically at costs as well. So costs are a big factor at this point in time. So looking at, your cost base, working that through with you, detailing what the retailer's expectations are from a margin point of view as well. And then they'll present your products to the buyers, and if the buyers want to meet with you, then they'll help you, assist you with one-on-one engagement with buyer introductions and assist you in facilitating that meeting. Any questions? There will be a small fee involved. It's yet to be determined. But we're certainly conscious of not only the fee involved, but also your time as well, given the pressures on business and the economic environment at this stage.
David, I heard yesterday that Coles would like the growers to reduce their cost by 14%. Does that mean the CEOs would reduce their wages by 14% too? And the rest of their staff?
That's a good question for Coles. Oh, sorry. So the question was, Coles have requested from suppliers to reduce their cost by 14%. Growers, yeah. 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 Yes. So, you know, I guess the whole industry is under pressure at the moment, and given, you know, we're seeing, from what we've seen, the cost of freight continues to rise. Yep. So, you know, it's just understanding all those different areas and making sure when the consultants work with your business that going through a well thought out, well set up spreadsheet that you're capturing all your costs and knowing what you need to sell the product for to Coles and Woolworths, but also understanding as well if that's not viable. So one of the outcomes maybe it's not viable for you to sell to the supermarkets.
Probably one thing to add, one of the purposes of this initiative is to really give businesses a diversity of channels so that they're not, obviously the majors in many cases are, a major customer for some of our food businesses, but providing a diversity of channels has been one of the goals of this. And I guess with David's expertise, having spent 25 years based on the East Coast, working with retailers, that breadth of opportunity that many of our local businesses aren't aware of is something we're keen to expose them to. So I think that's one of the reasons for this program. Yeah.
It hurt me that when I heard that, when we know how much our costs are rising.
Yeah.
So I'm not one. My company does not supply the Coles and Woolworths and our Aldi's. So yeah.
We should give you the mic.
Hey? Oh,
We
sorry.
should give you the mic.
I'm sorry. Yes, it did disturb me yesterday when I heard that was mentioned on the radio that that particular supermarket would like growers to reduce their costs by 14%. But as we just mentioned, our fuel costs, our transport costs are rising. Certainly our wages costs rose as of July of last year. So when wages rise, then superannuation rises and workers' comp insurance rises. So it doesn't just rise by a small percentage, it rises by a large percentage. So yes, but definitely identifying different markets and smaller markets where people can go to. That's really lovely. And and for the consumers, the smaller markets, the smaller fruit and veggie shops that are specialising are doing very well, I believe. They're supplying the consumers' needs.
Any questions from the CRCs? No? All right. Thank you.
Where do I point this? Are you clicking at the same time I'm clicking? Yeah, good morning everyone. My name's Phil May and I'm a Senior Development Consultant with DPIRD. My background is 35 years in the wine sector as a grape grower, winemaker and wine seller, and a lot of my wine sales were exports, and that's the skill set I bring to this organisation, and I've been with DPIRD now for just over 2 years. So I'm going to talk to you about two of the projects that I'm leading at the moment, which is the Food Waste Transformation Project. Last 12 months or so, we've been working closely with Curtin University and what is now known as the End Food Waste Cooperative Research Centre to look at establishing a project in Western Australia to help WA businesses that are in food and beverage manufacturing to look at have they got an opportunity to convert an existing waste stream into a value add outcome that gives your business diversity of income, builds up your business resilience, and of course reduces your waste. So the project is now up and running. This is a link to the website page for our particular project now, and there is the link in the blue text that you will receive in the slides that you'll be able to activate once you receive those slides. And it details the project that we're undertaking. So as a particular project, we've got 3 primary objectives. The existing data in terms of food and beverage manufacturing losses is underwhelming. So the first thing we need to do is actually understand a little bit more about what the waste streams are in the food and beverage manufacturing sector. So that part of the research is quite advanced. And then the second part is 2 years of actually applied research, which is based on expressions of interest that we receive from industry. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but those expressions of industry enter into a process that tries to help us and you to define what are the greatest impact opportunities within Western Australia. And then the third and final year of this particular project is when we take what we learn from the project out to industry so that you're equipped with a tool that can actually put your waste streams through a model that can help you identify the opportunities that you may have within your business. So this is a little bit of a pictorial of the what we call the funnel for the project. So we've got the fat end of the funnel at the left-hand side of the screen there, and that is where we call for industry to express an interest in participating in this project. So we want to hear from anyone and everyone that's in food and beverage manufacturing that has a waste stream that they'd like to see if there's an opportunity to value add to it. Those EOIs are then assessed against criteria, and the criteria has been established by an evaluation committee independent of the researchers so that we have some sort of objectivity in terms of how we identify what is an opportunity and what's not. The first stage of the EOIs is opened and closed, and at the beginning of March, the second stage of the EOIs will be opened. So that's partly why we have these events. So we want to bring these sorts of projects to your attention and encourage you to register to participate in these projects. So there is a link on the last slide that I'll share that invites you to register your interest in participating in the EOI, even though they're not currently open. So please, if you have a waste stream, we'd love to hear from you. So the second part of the funnel is once we've done a little bit of a desktop review of the opportunities that have been expressed, we will then determine if that opportunity has potential to go to a narrower end of the funnel. If it doesn't have the potential or isn't seen as a high impact potential opportunity, we prepare a little report that says it hasn't been selected to go through to the next stage of the process, but here are some references that you may wish to consider or explore to help you refine the opportunity that you have expressed an interest in having evaluated by us. When we get to the next stage of the funnel, what we're trying to do with the research is to then say, okay, we've identified some high impact opportunities, but there's still too many for us to take to the skinny end of the funnel. So we start to look at what do the waste streams contain, what are the ingredients, what are the volumes, and then if those indicators suggest that we take it further into the evaluation, it gets a green light and goes to the next stage. If the volumes, if the ingredient components are not aligned with the outcomes we're trying to achieve for the state and for your businesses, then another report will be generated, shared back to the person that's submitted the EOI, and that's the end of that particular stage. For those projects that advance to the next stage of the funnel, we then take it through to a pre-feasibility evaluation, and then at the end of that stage we'll identify what the 5 highest impact opportunities are for the state, and we'll do a case study on those, and we'll share that obviously with the businesses, but also part of the conditions of participating in this particular project is those learnings are something we share with a greater industry. So it's quite an exciting project so far. We've started doing the mapping of a couple of the early EOIs that were selected, and it's quite interesting getting the feedback from businesses where we had the situation where the business knew that they had losses, but they had no idea of the quantities of the losses. So already it's providing some really useful insights to the business to say, hang on, and it's quite relevant to some people in the room. It's a salad-making business operation, and even their lettuce losses, just to what ends up in the finished product to what comes in at the beginning of the process, was a greater percentage than what they were anticipating it to be. And if we talk about lettuce and what does lettuce contain, and you might think it's not likely to be a high impact opportunity as, say, something like wine grape marc that can be used for resveratrol or tannins or anthocyanins or other higher value extractions. There is the opportunity these days to actually extract proteins from green leaf vegetables. So if the volume of something that might be considered a relatively low value waste stream is sufficient enough, it actually could be enough of an impact to take it through to a final stage of this particular project. So we're trying to be as objective as we can as we process these opportunities, just to see that there might be something out there that we just don't realise its potential until we actually put it through this sort of methodology. So when you get the opportunity in the beginning of March to express an interest in participating in this particular project, we'd love to hear from you. You have a question online?
Okay, so the question was online on the chat from Esperance. Are ingredients and volume per business or per stream? As in, can a small business still submit an EOI?
It's an excellent question, and it can be a small business that submits the EOI, because in the case of even very small businesses, they can represent a sector, and we can extrapolate those losses across a sector to say that, okay, we've only quantified a small volume, but we know there are a large number of businesses in that space, a large number of businesses working with that waste stream, and so we are interested even in the smaller businesses to express their expression of interest. So, any other questions online or in the room? And if it's in the room, I'm going to have to hand you the microphone.
No, it's not a question, it's just a comment. I find it interesting because there is an isopol manufacturer, I think it's somewhere in the overseas somewhere, that they use vegetable, plant fibre from a waste, and they put it in their isopols as an added nutritional thing. So yeah, it's interesting.
Actually goes in my gelato.
Oh, does it?
Yes.
Oh.
Would you like to say more about that?
Yes. I make gelato from our goat milk, and the extra ingredients, the flavours and the extra additives I put in are all from Italy, and one of the ingredients is fruit fibre. So because I put it through a soft serve machine, and it actually needs that extra body to be able to be processed, otherwise it can't go through the soft serve machine. But we're also looking at using our whey as a waste product, so that's got lots of valuable nutrients as well.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because that last comment is also of relevance to a presentation that's coming a little bit later with the alternate proteins. Any other questions online? No. Okay, so just a reminder, you will get all the slides, so please take action once you've received those for any of these particular activities that you're interested in.
All right, we'll get back underway. We're good to go in the other centres? Okay, so the next project I'm going to talk to you about is our tertiary industry partnerships. Before I do that though, you'll pick up throughout the day that there are some themes that kind of flow through all of our projects and the bulk of the programs we offer. And they're based around what we see as some of the critical factors that impact the potential growth of the West Australian food and beverage industry. So you've got the projects Phil's just spoken about, projects like the Food Waste Project, projects we'll talk about later like our digital project, the Pathways Project based around helping businesses become more efficient, more productive, helping them address cost issues. But we've also got a stream of projects that are around not only potentially assisting businesses like the Food Waste Project to become more efficient, but also projects that we believe are the right things to be doing. So there's a you'll notice there's a flow of projects that are around things that are good for WA businesses, but they're good for the environment, they're good for the state, and we believe they're generally good. And then we've got a range of projects that are actually about building the ecosystem that sits behind the food industry, because when we initiated the project in the first few years, we looked at what underpins successful food industries internationally, regardless of where they were, but trying to look at those that had similarities to Western Australia in terms of size, in terms of complexity, in terms of geographic distribution, because WA has the challenge of being a massive state with, as you even see today, with food businesses spread across a huge geographic area. The tertiary partnerships program really sits in that bucket of what are the things we're doing to build that ecosystem behind the industry. And part of our goal is providing good project opportunities for young students, or old students, but students generally, to get involved in the food industry and experience what the food industry is about, and hopefully consider future careers in the food industry or future careers as consultants to the food industry. Because Phil was with me in the early days of the project, what we found was there was a real lack of depth in the service provider base in Western Australia. So often, in order to get someone to support a part of your business, you had to go outside of Western Australia. And we've got a few projects that have helped address that over the last 5 years, and we've actually seen a real change. So if you look at our voucher program, for example, 98% of WA food businesses that get a voucher from us are actually choosing a West Australian consultant to assist them with their voucher activities, which is a significant turnaround from early on in the project. Okay. So our tertiary partnership project really looks at how do we work with the universities across WA, and there's the option of working with universities outside of Western Australia if the skill set doesn't exist in WA, but again our preference is WA, to help food businesses address challenges within their business that they might struggle to address themselves. So it's predominantly project based, and really the goals are pretty simple. It's about good projects that are going to make a difference to a business, but actually provide a meaningful learning opportunity for the students that come into your businesses. The areas that we've worked on through the tertiary projects, we've got the digital solutions project that we'll talk about in more depth a little later on. We've got student internships, and we've also got a program with CSIRO, which is a STEM-based project. That's a project where CSIRO assists the business in terms of developing a robust project, and then that's offered to all universities. So the universities basically bid for which university student would go into that business and undertake that project. In all cases, we provide a degree of subsidisation, so the cost to the business is reduced, and obviously for longer internships, there is a cost to the business, but we pick up 50% of those costs. The key responsibility is really around developing high quality projects. So we're not sending students out to do menial tasks at businesses. We're sending students out to work on research projects predominantly. And at the moment, we've got agreements in place with Curtin University, with ECU, and obviously with CSIRO. Each university offers something different. So at the moment, we're talking to UWA. The UWA has had a very strong reputation in the plant sciences space, so we're looking at the potential of some projects in that space, but we're really looking at targeting the unique skill sets that a university and their students bring. So you may have a student this year that comes from Curtin, you might have a student next year who might be working on a business project for you, you might have a student the year after working on an engineering project that might come from ECU or UWA, for example. Okay. Again, as we've said previously, there's the links in the slide pack that you'll all receive. So if you are interested in those projects, you'll have the contacts there to find out more. But if there are any questions on the tertiary projects, happy to answer. Oh, and I should also add, we're also working with the TAFE sector. So they're an active partner in our shoestring project, where we're actually transferring knowledge from Cambridge University and developing students here in WA with the ability to help businesses implement the solutions. Okay, so for regional businesses, we have a travel subsidy to assist. So obviously if a student's working on a project in your business and you're based remotely, we'd like the student to go out and spend a bit of time with you, firstly to understand the business and to understand the people within the business. So we subsidise travel at the start and end of the project. A lot of the projects, being research projects, are actually conducted remotely, but we think it's really important that the students actually spend time with the businesses, learning what your priorities are and understanding the people. One thing that I found really pleasing out of the first iteration of the project, and I know you were there, Phil, at the kind of celebration event at the end, is the relationships that form between the businesses and the students. So when we had the presentations at the end of the first course, it was almost like the businesses who were turning up, it was like it was the parents of the student, because of, you watch them greeting each other and coming in, and the pride that they had in the work that had been done. So I guess from a personal perspective, you actually see long-term relationships forming out of some of these partnerships. And the STEM program with CSIRO, there's been an 80%, so 80% of students that have gone to businesses on the STEM project have ended up employed by that business at the end of their project, which is an outstanding result. So yeah, I've spoken to the slides. I've been a little bit ahead of myself there, but basically that we've got that travel subsidy model, and so CSIRO with the STEM program, CSIRO have a dedicated officer that works with the businesses to help them develop quality projects, and also someone who oversees and mentors the students throughout the program. Nikki is your contact for the program currently, and I think there'll also be a link to register your interest if you are interested in being involved in that program. Okay, I think we're over to David. Oh, sorry, any questions on the tertiary partnerships?
I just make okay, we've actually participated a couple of times with some university students. Our last one was with Curtin University, and the young lady came to us for about 2 weeks or a month. Spent time on our farm, and she said, well, she's got another idea of how salads grow, or fresh cut salads grow, and what happens and everything to go with that. We also, it must have been about 5 years or more ago, that we participated with business studies with some 2 Curtin University young men, and we were looking at moving our business to our other farm and the prospects of what would be the most financial way to do that. And it was, they worked out, it was in the end, it was better to stay where we are, increase where we are. So they were very good. That one, we're very pleased with them.
Excellent. One of the things I've noticed as well is some of the really creative thinking that comes from students as opposed to kind of mainstream consultants. So we had one with a brewery a couple of years ago where they'd actually gone through a branding process with consultants, but the student came up with something that was very different to what the consultants had suggested, and it was really just that kind of creative thinking without the normal constraints. So yeah, there've been some great models. I guess the key from what I've seen has been the quality of the hosts in terms of developing a meaningful project. That really is the crux. We can always find good students, but it's really around getting high quality projects that are going to deliver a result at the end of the day.
So I'm here to talk about industry reports that the WA government commissions. They commission a number of reports. Some of the ones on the table in front of you are the business opportunity reports. So one of the ones is West Australian Meal Solutions. So we also commissioned another number of other reports around functional food for health, alternate proteins, to understand the industry and the opportunities that exist here in WA for the food and beverage businesses. It's a rapidly changing world with some of the processes that food's going under through fractionisation, wet or dry, through precision fermentation. And this is where some of our programs overlap, because what Phil's working on in the CRC with waste is where else can that waste be used, for example, in precision fermentation as a feedstock to then ferment it into a food. So it's that different technology that's now existing. That technology is now getting smaller as well. We no longer need big factories. There are modular units that can be installed in big factories that then produce or turn waste into a food within those factories, or fractionised product within those existing factories. So it's working through these opportunities through the different areas and turning waste into food, but also looking at the opportunities to value add with what we currently grow within Western Australia. So there's a lot of opportunities that we're exploring to unlock that value add for WA businesses. We're the largest producer of grains in Australia, and wheat, I think that's correct. So, you know, most of that wheat is exported overseas. So what else can be done with that wheat in Western Australia? There's a lot of work going on in the lupin space with the fractionisation of lupins. Where can that be used as a food source in food products? The world's going to need a lot more protein in the years to come with the ever-increasing population. So what protein can be grown, extracted, and how can we do that in Western Australia and compete on a global scale? Also within the area is the function of food as well. So the perceived function of health of that food, or the actual function of health of that food. So that's a key driver for consumers when they purchase products now. The food actually doesn't have to taste as, you know, as great as a chocolate, but because it performs a function for people, a function for health. Nobody liked whey powder when you used to add it to your smoothies initially, but we all got used to it because we knew of the benefits of adding protein to our smoothies. So there's these other foods that are coming through which are influencing the way consumers purchase. Faba beans, or the faba protein extract, is now being used in as a protein source in a lot of these protein powders as well. So we're exploring all of those areas to be able to add value back into Western Australia. Any questions?
I have a question, David.
Yes, Phil.
And it relates to the reports. What sort of reports exist for industry in terms of opportunities? Have you done any work around premium agri-food market opportunity reports or such the like?
The business opportunity outlier reports? Oh, where is it, Phil? So we've got a number of these reports on our website, and you'll find the functional food for health one on the Agric website. This one's the premium agri-food market opportunities. So these on our website, you can download them, you can just view them, and it's about the different opportunities that exist not only here in Western Australia but also overseas. So the trade team has some reports on the website as well. So there's a lot of information on the WA government website, which myself, I never knew existed before I started working for the government, and there is a lot of information and a lot of reports and a lot of assistance that exists on our websites. You know, I spent a number of years in Sydney, and I used to troll through the New South Wales, Queensland, Victorian government websites. I have to say, WA has so much information there, you just have to go and source it. And if you can't find something, then contact us and we'll see if it's available, or you're not sure of something, reach out and contact us. It's better that we're sharing the information then if you can't find it, we'll find it and share it with you. So there's a lot of assistance for businesses to be able to access this information. Any questions online? Yeah.
As people find trawling websites quite difficult, I'm an expert at it because I'm an ex-academic, maybe you could put together like a cheat sheet, a couple of pages with live links in it, just saying where everything is to get to the URLs, so people aren't spending hours trying to search around the back blocks of DPIRD or government sites. I mean, I've looked for stuff around trade because I'm interested in exporting spirits, and after about 3 or 4 clicks or a bit more, you know, sometimes it's not always opaque. I'm not having a go at you guys. You've got lots of information. But if there was just like a cheat sheet, and yeah, we will go through the slides from today, but if there was some place where you could keep a cheat sheet where all the links were for different sectors or different projects.
Yes.
Or QR codes.
Yep. But there is a lot of information in there, and even, you know, I know myself when I'm trying to find some information on there that I go through the search function and it doesn't come up straight away. So if you can't find what you're looking for, reach out and we'll find it for you. We'll help you source it. So that's what the information is there for, and that's what we're here to do, is to assist you.
Thanks, David. I'll just look for the clicker. I've got to say, I'm really enjoying this format. I hope the people online are actually finding this engaging enough, but this is the first time we've trialled something like this, and it's a way for us to try and engage with regions a little bit differently to how we do try and get out there. And if this works, and if you think this is something you like more of, please let us know, because it's an effective way of having a touch point more frequently if this is something that does work for you. I'm just going to go back a couple of slides to this one that David had up, because this QR code on screen is effectively what Helen's suggesting we do. It is a QR code, so it's a great point to highlight, thanks Helen. This QR code will take you through to our team website, to where there is a list of all the reports that we have available. So you don't have to scan it here and now, but if you want to have a look at those reports online, and as David said, there's a lot of really useful information online there. It works? Well, there we go. It's tested and effective. Great, thanks Helen. And what do you think of the list? Is that the sort of list you were suggesting? Yep. Yeah, no, that's great. But again, that's also why we need to talk you through some of these activities, so that you know that these pathways exist for you to be able to access. So I'm enjoying the question and knowing that we've put some work into having some of the answers prepared, but we do acknowledge that the website, in particularly government websites, can be cumbersome, and it's very difficult to find some of the information. So we're not going to hide behind that as something that doesn't exist. It does exist. It is a problem. I'm just going to launch into my next topic, which is sustainable packaging. But just to put the regions that are not in the room on notice, at the end of this little presentation on sustainable packaging, we are going to make the regions contribute verbally. So be ready for that. If you've got sort of any questions about anything we've discussed so far that you haven't voiced at this point, if you have an experience with an intern that you'd like to share, if you have something else that is relevant to the discussions we had so far, we'd just like to bring you into the room as much as we possibly can. So be ready to be crossed over to at the end of the sustainable packaging chat. So we have a definition of sustainable packaging, and it's to serve two purposes. So packaging needs to perform a function, and we're also looking at lowering the impact on the environment. So they're the two things that we're trying to balance when we talk about sustainable packaging. But it's a very, very confusing space. It's a rapidly changing space, and there needs to be a lot more change to occur before we can have widespread adoption with truly sustainable packaging alternatives. How well is Australia doing in terms of sustainable packaging? Well, if you look at the percentage going to landfill, it's not good at all. But if you look at the bottom of these 3 points, the majority of packaging that we currently use is actually designed to be reused, recycled, upcycled. So in that context, we're trying to do the right thing. So there's a few breakdowns in the cycles that's causing that top figure. And of course, that top figure then represents a dollar value, which is pretty ugly. And that's what we're trying to address nationally, globally, and we all have a role to play in that. Put this slide up just to show that these are the 4 main reference points that we go to as an organisation, and we encourage industry to go to as an organisation. So the companies and organisations listed on screen are always providing the latest of any update that you need to have. So if you go to, say, the Australian Food and Grocery Council and you want to know about single-use plastic bans, they have all the information for all of Australia listed in there. It's the ugliest spreadsheet you ever want to see, and that is because every state and territory, of course, has different phase-in, phase-outs, different requirements regarding single-use plastics. But that shows, to me, the challenge that we're facing, and it's the reality of what we're dealing with. But if you want to know the latest on single-use plastics, we also have our own statewide access to the Department of Water, Environment and Regulation with their single-use plastic information. But in terms of resources, if you're looking at what is the latest, these 4 organisations are the ones that we recommend that you put into your saved searches on the top up on your top menu line on your search engines. But for those that have worked with us in the past, you'll know that we have a very strong relationship and very positive relationship with the Australian Institute of Packaging. They presented at Turning the Dial 2023. They're going to have a role to play in Turning the Dial 2024, and they offer other really useful training and informative developments within the sustainable packaging space. They're also the organisers of the Packaging Awards nationally and within the Australasian region. So if you want to see what companies are doing well in a particular commodity, the Australian Institute of Packaging site, linking through to their awards outcomes, can provide some pretty motivational examples of who's doing what well. There's some tools out there that are available to help you. This is an impact calculator tool that's available on the ARL Marketplace website. The ARL Marketplace website is on the cheat sheet that's, I think, about the 3rd last slide in this slide deck. So you're going to have a lot of URLs that you can open at that particular point. But this is just a process to help you start your journey, if you haven't already, on knowing where you're at with your existing packaging and where you need to try and make changes to make your packaging more sustainable. So some of the sustainable packaging principles, I won't necessarily go through these in any particular detail, because again you're going to have these as an outcome from today's presentations. But the link at the bottom takes you through to the Sustainable Packaging Guidelines, which basically lists the 10 guidelines to consider if you're going through a packaging review. And I'm also going to talk probably a little bit more about this consumer information component, because it plays a very important role in keeping what we produce in terms of packaging in the recycling system for as long as possible. So, too many words. First 5 are the design principles. The second 5, again, we're finishing with that consumer information, and this is probably the point I want to highlight more out of any of those 10, and that is the widespread adoption now of a single label that communicates what to do with the package that you're putting your product in from a consumer point of view. So currently there are over 200 different options you can put on your packaging to tell people what to do with the package once they've consumed the product that they've purchased within that packaging. That's why consumers get confused. They see things like Mobius loops and they see a number in the middle and they think it's got the Mobius loop, it's recyclable. In many instances, that number in the middle of the Mobius loop is just telling you the plastic that it's been made from. It's not telling you to recycle it. So we need to understand what label means what, and this was developed by Australia and New Zealand so that we have a collaborative approach to having a single label that consumers can get to understand so that they know what to do with that package. Some reasons why it can be confusing and a couple of examples of the use of the ARL. So here's a box that's fully recyclable. There's no number in the middle of that Mobius loop. So it's not telling you it's made from a particular plastic. It's telling you that this box can be recycled, this jar and this lid can be recycled. So currently there's more than 250,000 products Australia-wide using the ARL, and it's growing rapidly. So if you are considering a package redesign, if you are considering what messages you need to communicate on your packaging from a consumer point of view, the national position is to adopt the ARL. There's a lot of work happening in packaging alternatives. Plant-based packaging is something that is getting a lot of research, a lot of attention, and is seen as the longer-term solution for many of the challenges that we face. The stage of research at this point in time is, we can say, there's a lot of potentially very good outcomes that are going to be developed. They're not at commercial levels yet in many instances. So things like where you need a clear film over a package so the consumer can see what's inside, where you have products that contain high moisture levels. We have some challenges that will ultimately be solved by some of the options that are on screen, but from a commercial point of view, we've still got a way to get the cost per unit down. But this is where a lot of the research work is going. We have some targets nationally, and we try to promote these targets wherever we can, just to say, look, by 2025, this is where Australia wants to be. Unfortunately, we're not tracking so well towards these targets, and the targets will be one of the themes that we'll be promoting at Turning the Dial 2024, because we want to try and get more people on board to say, okay, we've got a goal, let's do what we can do as an SME to help us achieve what we can in terms of the targets, and to help our businesses do what we should be doing in terms of packaging. This is the cheat sheet I prepared for this particular segment, ARL Marketplace, with that tool that can help you go through your packaging assessments and help you become more sustainable with your packaging decisions. This is our WA government website, the Plastic Ban WA, which is under DWER. We have a Waste Authority of WA is doing a lot of good work and have a lot of good resources available to you. And of course those major organisations that I've mentioned earlier. Something that's going to be covered a couple of times today. This is the first time Kim will reference it when we get to the voucher program. But we do have within our AGRIC website, this is the link. I don't know if that's coming through on the camera, probably not, but on the top of the screen in the blue is the link to our professional service provider directory. This is part of what Kim was mentioning earlier about building the ecosystem within WA. This is where we've actually put a lot of work over the years into trying to build a list of service providers that you can access to know or to help you with your businesses. So if you do go into the link and you type in packaging under the service category, you'll see what Western Australian companies are offering packaging services. Those that are offering sustainable packaging services we've identified with some asterisks, and that brings them to the top of the list in that particular search. There aren't many listed currently, and this is part of our job, is to grow this database to help you from a resource point of view. So when it comes to things like the voucher program, this particular database is really important when you're looking for a service provider to help you with a voucher application deliverable. And just a contact, so a lot of the sustainability themed initiatives under food industry innovation have come to me, and it's a space that I'm really passionate about. So no phone number there, but there is an email address. If I reply back to you, you'll get my phone number. There are some of my cards that were on the table earlier. And thinking of cards on the table, some of the things we're referencing, at least in this room, sorry people that aren't in the room, but we've put out some of the little DL cards and business cards referencing some of the resources that we have available. But that's all really from the sustainable packaging presentation point of view. I'm just going to ask for any questions. Any from in the room? Any from the regions?
I've always got questions.
Terrific.
We use obviously a lot of cardboard, but it's being sustainable. But we want to know where to recycle. Mm-hmm. That's our main thing. There's not a great deal of recycling in WA where we, as commercial people, we can take it to. Yeah. What would you suggest?
Doing what you've done, bring it to our attention. This is the sort of stuff that we can get involved in, and we can try and come up with a regional solution so we can ask people to consolidate similar products and then go to the recycling organisations and saying, look, we've got a region that's producing this volume of this product, how can we work with you to keep that in our recycling system? So by bringing it to our attention is the best thing you can do.
And I mean, it's not only cardboard that, we're recycling. There are plastics. There's quite a substantial amount, isn't there?
Yeah, pallet wrap at the minute, but we do have a lot of plastic waste.
Yep.
Yep. So there was another comment for those in the regions from within the room, just saying that plastic is an issue with another company in the room. And
she's my company.
So.
Oh, yeah, not me.
She works for me.
I also work for her.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She works for me too.
Full disclosure, that's I was misled by the invitation list. Sorry.
Yeah, but we do have a lot of plastic waste,
and plastic waste and pallet wrap's a common one.
Pallet wrap's all right; that can go somewhere. But my feeling is that somebody needs to, the government or somebody needs to do something about recycling within the state, so that businesses can take it there and Yeah,
and there is some infrastructure for plastic reuse going in Western Australia. A company in Henderson who's looking at servicing the Asian market from Perth with Perth and the region's plastic waste. So that's a relatively new investment, quite a significant one. And we have paper and pulp manufacturing in WA now, and there's a company that is producing egg cartons from paper and pulp waste that didn't exist before COVID. But if you look at the egg cartons that are on the supermarket shelves, any that's not your generic home brand, that washed out, recycled cardboard looking egg carton, the rest of it's imported. And those recycled ones are made by a company in Melbourne. So imagine importing all those coloured egg cartons, which is what we tend to do. So we now have a company in Western Australia doing that out of the paper and pulp waste. So they'll be a company that we'd be looking at trying to link in with the cardboard waste that you referred to earlier.
All right, we've just got a question from Esperance, if you want to go ahead and ask that.
Hi. Thank you for all that information. I'm very excited about looking at all that afterwards. I've been in business for 14 years and have been, so none of this is new. I've been dealing with these issues for 14 years and I've been very passionate. But you talk about responsible suppliers, but how do you enforce our suppliers to actually do the right thing? In Esperance, we're very limited with our suppliers, and I've been finding that I end up educating them about things as opposed to the other way around, and the care factor just isn't there. Boycotting isn't really an option because, like I say, we're very limited. And I feel like we've been blindsided over the years by these suppliers who just don't care enough. How do you enforce that?
We can't enforce it at this point, but what you're doing is the right thing. What I would encourage you to do is to push those suppliers even harder, and that means getting them in touch with someone like myself. I am aware of some businesses that are supplying food and beverage manufacturers in Western Australia that do have the sustainability agenda front and centre. The larger suppliers have their own reporting requirements these days, and they're increasing. So there's actually going to be a subtle indirect enforcement put upon them, and if their turnover's over 100 million and they're going to be looking at the ESG mandatory reporting requirements in financial year 2025 ending, so commencing only in 5 months from now, 4.5 months from now. And so they're going to have a bit of a reason to change. But if the business is smaller than that turnover in size, I don't want you to change supply necessarily, but I'd like to, because I know how regions work. I've lived in regions all my life until 2.5 years ago, and building those relationships and maintaining them is really important. So if that supplier or suppliers to you could be introduced to someone that can provide a more sustainable option to you, I'd be very happy to have that chat with them.
Okay, thank you. And also just the end user. I feel like we've tried over the years to do the right thing and offer different alternatives to customers, but the end user I just feel still doesn't really get it because it's so confusing. So, I feel like banning is the only way you're going to actually force the end user to do the right thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of behavioural change issues related to food waste and sustainable packaging, and there's a lot of work and time and effort being invested in simplifying the messages, and even on the single-use plastics, the red cycle replacement. There will be some announcements over coming months as to the next stages of that. It won't be branded recycle, but there's going to be an easier and more widespread pathway for consumers to be able to keep their soft plastics back in the system. But again, I put a piece of cardboard into a recycling bin this morning, and there was a plastic bag in there. And that's a challenge we all face.
Okay.
But if there's any more questions online?
Yeah, we've got one from Broome, so if you want to go ahead.
G'day. Are you aware of, or is there any, I'm not sure if you're the right person to ask or not, but are you aware of any legislation or rules within Western Australia or Australia more generally that prevent beverage or food manufacturers from reusing packaging? So, I mean, classic one would be somewhere like Europe where they reuse glass bottles for beer. We obviously don't have anything like that in Australia. I understand there's some sort of legislation that prevents it. I've actually tried, so I'm in the beverage manufacturing business, and I've tried to find legislation a few times to sort of point me as to what you can and can't do, and I can't find anything. Is that something you're aware of, or something you can provide some advice on?
It depends on the package, and if it's glass, there's beverage manufacturers in WA that are reusing glass already. So there's a kombucha maker in the Swan Valley, there's a fruit juice maker, and they've got collection cycles in place for their bottles, and they reuse them for future product sales. So that suggests there is no legislation against doing that, but it will depend on the product material.
Is there, so I'm planning to use HDPE, so polyethylene plastic. Is there a guide, or is there somewhere that you could direct me that I could look to find if there is some sort of guidelines that say you need to sanitise for this long, or you need to have this sort of process in place to reuse? Is that sort of information available, or is it just don't get someone sick?
It's a great question. I don't have the answer to that, and I'm happy to take it on board and get back to you after today. But great question. Yeah.
Probably if you've got any sort of food safety certification, it would probably form part of your food safety standard. So I don't know what the standards are in beverages, but it would normally say whether you can use recycled packaging or not. Yeah.
Yeah,
There would be
and even the type of packaging that could be reused.
probably not the type of package, but there would be a standard in place.
Yeah.
You could probably contact whoever your certification body is and probably have that conversation with them.
Great, thanks, Sarah. Yeah. If there's no more questions in the room, what we'll do before we swap to Kim to talk about the next topic is just invite the regions to have a bit of a say about some of those questions I posed before, the sustainable packaging. So if we can go to the regions, that'll be great.
Shall we start again with Broome? Did you have anything to add? No? You good? Okay, so we'll go over to Dandaragan. Is there anyone who has had experience with internships or any of the other topics that we've talked about? No? Okay. And Esperance? Anybody want to add anything, share some stories at all?
Our comment was that we have had internships, but they've been in partnership with a French university, so don't really have anything to add to this conversation at the moment.
Okay.
Other than my personal comment was that I really liked how you said, you made a comment around, one of the comments here was sustainable packaging is not available in Esperance because we're in the regions, and when you asked the question I was thinking in my head, I don't know how he's going to give you a good answer today because we're only 100 kilometres from Perth and it's going to come down to economies of scale and, profitability. So I really appreciated your answer. You said two things that jumped out at me. You said that one, DPER's aware, so it's good that it's on your radar, and two, that you care about the fact that regional solutions are required and you want to work with people. So I just want to say thank you for your help in advance, and I look forward to seeing how you can help Esperance have some more sustainable packaging options, because we are a beautiful place and we want to keep our pristine environment pristine. So thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Anyone in Gingin around the room, you want to add anything else? Yep. Okay, cool. Well, if you do, just pop your hand up and let us know. Otherwise, we'll throw over David. Just a comment. If anybody has a need for a supplier or knows of a supplier, that should go onto our directory, you should, let us know or pass on that link for the directory so they can get themselves added, and then we'll know about them as well. Okay, so now it's Kim, throw back to you for the digital manufacturing on a shoestring program.
I'll just make one comment about the service provider directory. So government is always loath to recommend or prioritise businesses. So we were able to obtain permission to list businesses, But the fact a business is listed on the directory is not an endorsement from us in terms of the quality of their work. What I always recommend to businesses is that you talk to other businesses that have used someone in that space, because WA is a small place in terms of everyone knows everyone. What we've asked businesses to do is list testimonials on there, but probably the best mechanism for looking at whether a business listed on there is going to be right for you is to talk to some other businesses that may have used someone in that space. Laura's point about getting you guys to recommend businesses is we often go out and we talk to a business who either tell us about an exceptional experience they've had or a terrible, we don't get the middle, we get the exceptional or the terrible experience. So we generally reach out to the businesses where someone has said, look, I used XYZ to do this piece of work and it was outstanding. If we haven't got them on the directory, we'll reach out to them and try and include them. But that word of mouth and having our businesses help each other is really important. And some of the businesses have been a little hard to find because some of the very good ones don't do a lot of promotion purely because they don't need to, because they're well, in a couple of cases overwhelmed with the amount of work they get through word of mouth. But I think it's important that we work as a collective to really up the standard, and that's one way we can do it. Okay, digital manufacturing on a shoestring. Sarah, do you want to take the lead on this one for us? So on the 15th of March, we will officially launch the West Australian Digital Manufacturing Program. This is a project that we have been piloting. So I guess going back around 4 years ago, and it was on that topic of looking at the factors impacting the productivity and I guess the profitability of WA businesses, we recognised that the adoption of digital tech was going to be a really major factor going forward for WA businesses. We did a review of where we sat in international rankings in terms of the adoption of digital solutions within our business sector, and to say the findings of that review were disappointing is an understatement. We were ranked, I don't remember the exact number, but something like 196 on a world scale. I think we were just ahead of Angola, and it wasn't just food and beverage manufacturing. It was across small business generally. In WA, one of the challenges for us, particularly in the food sector, is that we have very few large businesses and we have a really long tail. So the 1,500 businesses in WA that are food and beverage manufacturing, less than 10 are what Australia calls a large business. The rest are small, and a majority of those small ones are either not employing or they're employing 1 to 5 people. We looked at the factors impacting the low rate of digital adoption, and there were kind of 3 core themes that came out of that, and they'll resonate pretty much with everyone in the room and online. So the first one was the complexity of getting involved. Where do you start? If you don't have a background in the space, if it's not something you're familiar with, then it's just complex and daunting for people to make a start. Secondly, our small businesses are time poor, so how do you get the time to bring yourself up to speed, to learn, to go through the process of I guess, learning and feeling skilled enough to actually make a decision? Thirdly, the existing solutions are designed for bigger businesses because that's where the profit is. So, we've talked to businesses that are looking at a solution which is $130,000 or $200,000, and it's really difficult to determine where you're going to get a return on investment if you're spending $135,000 on a solution. So it will sound like it took us a long time to get there, but it did take us a long time. We then said, we need to look internationally at what's being offered, and is anyone doing something that would actually work here in Western Australia? And often, apologies to Phil, and not so much David, he hasn't been with us so long, but Phil will have heard this story infinitum. I remember one of the conversations we had was with one of the German institutes for digital adoption, And Sebastian, who heads up the institute, was talking to us, and we said, look, we deal with a lot of SMEs. He said, oh, we do too. In fact, some of the businesses we deal with only have 200 employees. And we thought, well, this is going to be a bit challenging. But so what we did was we tried to find a program that actually worked for smaller businesses. It could work for larger businesses, but would work in smaller businesses. And the program that we ended up at the top of our list internationally was a program run out of Cambridge University, and it was called Digital on a Shoestring. So we reached out to Cambridge and said, have we got a deal for you? Would you like to work with us in Western Australia? And somewhat good fortune for us, Duncan, who you guys know, the lead professor at Cambridge running the program, happened to be an Aussie out of Melbourne who'd lived and worked in Perth for a few years for BHP and said, I'd love to do something in Perth. So we ended up developing a collaboration with Cambridge University, and it gets back to that earlier principle I talked about, how do we build capacity here in Western Australia? So we didn't want someone saying, here's a service, you buy a service off us, and then you're reliant on us to help you going forward. It was about a program where we could develop the skills within the WA businesses and the skills within the WA tertiary education sector and the TAFE sector to actually build a cohort of people who understood this and could be the managers, the implementers, the people who are coming up with the next solution. And that's how the program has run. So what we've been doing, we decided in order to allay the fears that, well, it worked in the UK, but it won't work in WA, we've run a small-scale pilot. So we selected 10 businesses, and those businesses, we looked to base them across different parts of food and beverage manufacturing. So in the horticultural space, in the meat production space, in the beverages space, a couple in the beverages space. We've got kombucha, we've got beer, we also have a wine pilot running. And really working with those businesses to implement digital solutions in their operations and start to gather data to basically demonstrate, hey, this works here in WA. So we're at the point now where we have a number of these solutions up and running within the businesses, and those solutions are now generating data for those businesses. And really the key here is about data, because data drives decision making. I always say, it's very simple. It's an old adage, but what you don't measure, you don't manage. And if you don't know what you're wasting, we can run as many waste identification projects as we like. But if we don't know what we're wasting, then we can't change how we manage what we waste. And the digital on a shoestring program is really helping businesses to firstly identify the pain points in their business. So we're not coming in with a generic list and saying, hey, this is the solution for you. It's your business that determines which are your key pain points and what are the things you would like to address. That's then cross-referenced with, is there a solution that's going to match your existing pain points? So I will ask Jim and Sarah to talk a little bit about their experience as part of this, but really it's that process. What are the things that you would like to address in your business that are causing you pain? Is there a solution that can be applied? Now, sometimes the thing that's causing you most pain, we won't have a solution for. We're also very clear on the fact that these solutions, when we say low cost, we're talking in the hundreds of dollars, so $200, $500, not the thousands or the tens of thousands or the hundreds of thousands. So we can put a CO2 sensor into a operation, but we're not putting a CO2 sensor in to determine the safety of that from a human health perspective. So we're not doing things that are mission critical, because you don't pay $200 and say, I'm going to put my staff in somewhere because I've got a $200 sensor that's determining whether it's safe. You'd have to go for a commercial solution. It's aspects of the business that are not critical from a safety perspective. And the real key to this program, as I see it, is that the businesses are learning, and what we've seen with the 3 businesses that are kind of ahead of the curve on this already, they've got their first solution in place. One of them's got a second solution in place. So they've come up with initial solution. that's now working, and they've said, well, actually, we've now identified something else we need to do, and they're part of the design of the next digital solution. I'll go to the slides because there's a little bit of, the low-cost approach developed at Cambridge. They've implemented solutions in over 400 businesses, ranging in size from the Boeing organisation right down to 5, 10 FTE businesses. This issue around where to start we thought was a really critical one. A lot of the businesses we spoke to just didn't know where to start. And the other thing is we looked at the national programs that were operating, and they weren't really hitting the ground here in WA. So the Modern Manufacturing Initiative, for example, in some cases it's directly competed with WA businesses in terms of businesses that support it, but we haven't had a lot of WA businesses accessing some of those national programs. So Shoestring uses off-the-shelf technologies, as we say, low-cost microcomputers, linked to sensors. It improves efficiency, productivity, quality and sustainability. So it links back to a lot of those other kind of core themes in our project around how do we reduce waste, how do we become more efficient. Very low cost, so basically sensors then leading to live data on a dashboard. The process is so there are two parts to the process, and they're workshop processes. So businesses have to commit the time to actually work through the solutions, because we're not going to tell you what you need. So the first one is a prioritisation process where you're actually prioritising what your key needs are. The second one is then looking at cross-referencing that with existing solutions, or in some cases, as we become more advanced, actually developing new solutions here in WA that haven't been part of the current suite offered by Cambridge. You'll have these links within your pack. The program, you can register your interest now, and then as of 15th of March, when we officially launched, the expression of interest process will actually go live. And I don't know, can we play a short video here? Is that?
Many small and medium-sized manufacturers want to digitalise their work processes, but are unsure where or how to start. Digital manufacturing on a shoestring gives companies an affordable, low-risk way of introducing a digital solution that is peripheral to their core production processes. Shoestring's digital solutions use low-cost, off-the-shelf industrial and consumer components, such as sensors, cameras, Arduinos and Raspberry Pis, and combine these with openly available software to collect, analyse and display useful data on a screen. For example, solutions include job tracking, which uses handheld QR or barcode scanners, and equipment monitoring, using temperature or vibration sensors. Typical shoestring affordable solutions help companies save time, improve visibility of jobs on the shop floor, help optimize equipment usage, and give employees up-to-date information, crucial for more effective decision-making. The shoestring process is easy. It begins with companies identifying their top business need during an interactive workshop, and then selecting and implementing a solution that can be added on to existing systems. Training guides and shoestring partner support ensure that companies are steered through the process from beginning to end, helping them to start small and start simply, making it easy for them to digitalize their processes. As well as improving in-house digital skills, Shoestring provides companies with the confidence to try out other digital solutions, and offers them the opportunity to be part of a community all working to help future-proof small-scale manufacturing. Contact us to find out how Shoestring can help you implement a low-cost solution in your company.
I think that last point about the learning and development is really important. So one of the businesses that's up and running with their first digital solution, one of their office staff members that the management team didn't know had any knowledge or interest in the digital space, and I think she's 16 or 17 years old, has now actually taken the lead as being their key person in terms of implementing and running their digital solution, and the one who suggested the creation of their second solution. So we're already seeing some of those kind of broader goals that we wanted to achieve about actually building a cohort of people who understand simple digital tech and are able to start implementing it. I guess what we're trying to do in terms of our role is to smooth out the natural frustrations and challenges that come along the journey. So maybe 1 in 5, maybe 1 in 10 are going to have a seamless journey. Everyone else is going to have a point where it becomes challenging. Look, for most of us, setting up our Wi-Fi at home or connecting a new electronic device can be frustrating. So when you're going down the path of putting a digital solution in, we expect there'll be some frustration. Our role is really to smooth that out along with Cambridge and make that an easy journey. But I might just ask Jim and Sarah if they could give us just their insights on the journey they've been through.
I'll just make a comment. I got involved in the initial part of it and then Sarah's taken over. But what I liked about it was the venting process, because sitting around the table with the production manager, Sarah, the QA people, and going through the process of what we had to solve, while we're going through that, we're thinking, maybe we should do that, or maybe there's something we should be doing about that. So I like and I didn't get involved post the venting process, but that's what I liked about it, because you're working through. It gives you an opportunity to sit down and talk about, and you're looking at your problems, right? So you're looking at the lowest picking fruit that you may have a problem with, and you deal with that. But while you're getting there, you're looking through all the other issues you may have, and you address a few getting through there. So even if you don't take it on, the venting system of getting there and dealing with your problems is very good. And the matrix of getting there, I thought it was very close. It's a bit hard on me because I'm getting a bit old now, but it was good. And in the end, it said get rid of Sarah.
I'm the biggest problem in the business. No, I was actually just I'm just repeating exactly what Jim just said. We had a Zoom call and we sort of sat, Jim, myself, Finn, who's our production manager, we all sat there and we all had different opinions on what the issue was of the business. Common denominator here. But we sort of dissected the business on where, the biggest, time-saving, cost-saving, biggest headache was, and we made a list, and the people from Cambridge sort of offered up a lot of suggestions on, okay, that might save you money, but, what's more important, and really dissected the business, and we come to an agreement on the top 3 issues within the business. We went away, they went away, come back with some solutions, and in that time we actually, the one that was at the top of the list, we resolved internally ourselves.
Just Jim's still there.
I know.
I had to stay. I wanted to leave, but I had to stay.
Yeah, so we sort of went to number 2 on the list, and they've gone away and they've come back with the solution. So around Christmas time, Felipe came out and showed me the solution. I said, look, that's great, Felipe, but we're in the middle of Christmas. We'll sort it out. So he's actually coming back in 2 weeks' time to implement the solution. So he's shown me the solution. It looks like it will work within our business. So it'll be interesting when he comes back in 2 weeks to implement it. We'll actually play with it and resolve the issue, hopefully.
We solved the first one ourselves through the venting process, didn't we?
Correct, yeah.
And so we apportioned different people down the production floor, and we solved that through the process. That's what I liked about it. So if it doesn't go any further for us, solve the problem.
And also, what I was going to add is the solution that he's implementing in 2 weeks' time. I'm looking at something that's much more financial, a bigger financial impact on the business down the track. We're looking at a bigger software platform which will probably encompass this solution anyway, but it will be good to use this solution and just see whether we need to include it, whether it's going to actually add any value to the software that we're going to pay a fortune for. So we'll see what happens.
And look, that's a natural part of the journey too. So businesses get involved with a low-cost solution, start to get familiar with it, and in some cases, they are then moving on to a commercial solution because they're able to make a decision about whether that's going to actually generate a return for them. So we don't see shoestring as the be-all and end-all. It's about the commencement of the journey and getting more WA businesses digital savvy in terms of their work processes. Thanks, guys. And we have a question.
There was a question online from Esperance. Can you please give us examples of a solution for specific small businesses, for example, brewery, cafes, coffees, juices, honey producers?
Yeah, so look, I'll start with breweries. So the breweries we're working with at the moment, the most common solution that's going into breweries at the moment is around power monitoring and equipment monitoring. What's been really interesting is that there's, and you guys would have seen this, there's that inventory of existing solutions. Over 90% of businesses generally choose from that same list. So it's about inventory control, it's about work process control, it's about monitoring costs associated with power usage, with other costs within the business. It's interesting that we end up finding a common set of solutions that tend to apply across almost all businesses. In terms of one of the kombucha companies we're working with, they're looking at pH monitoring. So, you know, things that are impacting the brew time, temperature control, and often it's about changing from a manual process to a mechanised or to an automated process. So the difference between having someone come in 4 times a day and take a sample and then write that down, and having to do a late night and an early morning so that they're trying to spread that out over the 24 hours, to having real-time data all the time 24/7, telling you, were there any fluctuations in pH, were there any fluctuations in temperature? And I think the one that, you know, I think we now have 10 power monitoring solutions in place. So a lot of the manufacturing businesses we work with have significant power costs, but they don't know exactly what machine's using how much power at what time. So looking at how they can then monitor power and determine better solutions for power usage, they're probably some of the main ones currently. Okay, the Agri-Food and Beverage Voucher Program. We're now, I think, into our 5th or 6th year of the voucher program. Around about 300 businesses have been supported to date, receiving vouchers. So this gets back to the point I made earlier about how do we build the knowledge base and the capacity of our WA food and beverage businesses, and at the same time build the ecosystem that sits behind that. The vouchers are across a range of categories. So each round there's around $800,000 available. Individual vouchers of $5,000 to $10,000, a total of $20,000 across 2 vouchers. There are a range of categories that people can apply for vouchers in, so growth strategies, sustainable growth, increased competitiveness, diversified products and markets. The system, as we mentioned earlier, the businesses themselves identify a service provider. So one, you've got to demonstrate there's a need for that support. So it's something that's constraining your business or something you need to address in order to grow and develop. And then the business identifies the consultant that it wants to use, but in many cases they'll either go to the directory or ask us for some advice in terms of, you know, is there someone in that space? The categories for the vouchers are business planning, manufacturing for business growth, sales and marketing, financial health, environmental sustainability and social responsibility. And as I say, you can apply for 2 vouchers, 1 from each category. And there's a whole set of kind of sub-activities that fall under that. So, you know, if you look at something like sales and marketing, you know, it ranges from marketing plans to someone wanting to put in an e-commerce plan, etc. But again, if you go to that link, you'll be able to get all the details of the voucher program and whether there's one that suits you. We had the program reviewed by an external organisation in order to kind of audit what benefits the voucher program was delivering, and I guess we were happy with the voucher, but the results actually exceeded our expectations. So the average voucher value over the life of the program to date was around $5,800. Off the back of that, the audit of the program found that on average a voucher recipient has put on one additional FTE as a result of their involvement in the voucher program, that they've had an increased turnover of around about, I think from memory was at $120,000, and external investment of around $40,000. So we couldn't have predicted that when we started. If we'd measured it the first year, the results would have been nothing like that, because often, if the work people are getting done is of a strategic nature, it's in the third and fourth year that we're actually seeing the real results of their change in direction or their change in operations. So, yeah, been a very successful program for us. There's a round being announced in the next couple of weeks, the successful recipients of the current round, but there'll be another round this year for anyone who's interested in that program. The business visits program, basically we've been undertaking business visits over the last 5 years. When we started, in truth, it was about information gathering for us. We wanted to know what are the key issues businesses are dealing with, and how should we frame our offerings. Over time, they've become a bit more sophisticated, so really now around that opportunity to get an in-depth view of what are the aspirations of the business, what are the areas we can assist them, and are there things that we've missed? You know, are there things we're not currently offering that businesses need in terms of their growth? Again, there's an opportunity to register your interest in the business visits if you'd like one of the team to come out. And as we've got the regional guys, we've got people like Phil and David who've got a lot of experience in the food industry. We also so our programs align with Commonwealth programs. So we've done a lot of work over the program with programs like the Entrepreneurs program. So if the example would be the Entrepreneurs program, where their threshold was 1.5 million in turnover, we've just put our voucher program sits in just below that. So we're saying, look, we're not going to duplicate a national program, but we're going to help businesses that aren't ready to access that yet, but might be in a year or two. And I guess one of our core delivery model really is through partnerships. So Phil talked about the partners that we're working with on the food waste project and the packaging projects. In all our programs, we try and look at what's offered at a national level, and how do we offer a service that kind of dovetails into that, rather than duplicating what's offered by other organisations.
Just going back to the voucher program, we've got a question.
Yep.
How competitive is the voucher program? Is it oversubscribed regularly? And if so, how can a small regional business be competitive in their application?
So depends on the round. We've had some rounds that have been oversubscribed. We've had some rounds that have been undersubscribed. I guess the part of the challenge for us is how do you make sure you get the message out there to everyone that the program's open. Look, the size of the business isn't actually the issue. The criteria is based around the quality of the application. So is it something that you can clearly demonstrate that there's a need? Obviously, our programs are based around stimulating growth. So is there some evidence that it's going to lead to growth? But yeah, really basically just the quality of the application is the key determining factor. So, you know, I can, in all honesty, say that we've had years where within the top 10 ranked applications, so we have an external panel of experts that go through and assess them. We'll have a real mix in the top 10. We might have a very large business and a very small business, within the top 10. So it's not as if it's simply based on scale. And look, the other thing, on that is just the contact for the voucher program is Tilwyn Westrup, and his details will be in this pack. Just ring Tilwyn and talk through your application. His job's to help people through that process, and generally the feedback we get from the businesses is really good. So having that kind of division between person on our team whose job is to try and help the applicants and an external party, we're able to kind of separate that, but he'll be keen to work with any business and help them through the process. Well, that's it from me. The clicker stopped working. Okay, Bushfood Industry Development. We've had a project running over the last 6 to 8 months, run by Nikki Polish out of our Albany office, and really it's been around gathering data on the existing state of the bushfood industry in Western Australia. So, what are we doing at what scale? Where is processing occurring? What's the capability to scale up or ramp up? What are the future opportunities? That program is nearing completion, so it's at the end of February. We'll move from the data gathering component to the report writing component, which will be effectively a summary of what we are producing in Western Australia and what opportunities exist for the expansion of that industry. If you are in that space and you haven't heard from Nikki, please tell us and we'll put Nikki in touch with you. And of course, our program is really based around the value-adding aspects. So, what are the products that are being produced, but what are the manufactured and value-added products that can result from that? Nikki's contacts there. And we anticipate that off the back of the data gathering, there'll then be a strategy in terms of how we might support the future development of that sector. Capability guides, we have done all bar one region. So the Southwest region will be the last region to have their capability guide completed. The Midwest region are just about to launch their revamp. So we did the Midwest first, and we didn't have kind of the flash pro forma. That's been refined over time, so Midwest will be brought up to the standard of the other regions. There's a couple of the guides here on the table, on the chair, for you to have a look at. But basically what we're attempting to do is develop a relatively comprehensive inventory of WA food and beverage manufacturing businesses across the state. What we've already seen in some regions is that those guides are leading to connections within region, and whilst you normally think, everyone in a region knows everyone in a region, what we found in regions like the Great Southern was there were businesses that didn't know that not far down the road, that's a relative term in the bush, as you know, but someone else was producing a product that they were currently getting from Perth or elsewhere. So we've also seen a region that's used the guide to go out and start to talk to the hospitality venues within their region who don't feature any local product, to encourage them to look at the breadth of product that's available within their region. And one of the things I've really liked is when we've had our gathering of the businesses for the launch, just the camaraderie and the connections that are formed through that process as well. So we will have all regions covered, fingers crossed by the end of this year when the Southwest Guide is completed. And there's also some interest in using this as a vehicle for an online version of this that will be available for people who are looking at products from an export perspective as well. And, so that was the original Geraldton one, the very first one. And then we've moved on to, here's your contact details will be in your slide pack. I thought we had some pictures of the other guides, but they're here anyway for you to have a look at. They're online, yes. Now that's been one thing, every time we've produced a regional guide, everyone said, can we have a hard copy of the guide? But Phil, our sustainability man, has said no. It must be online, Kim, and we'll only print a couple of copies for the launch. Strangely, they always go missing at the launch, but I guess realistically, if you're featured in there, people want to have a copy for their coffee table or their office at home.
Get it printed at your local CRC.
Very good. You heard it first. Laura just mentioned earlier we'd tell you a little bit about our organisational structure. We put this at the end because we knew you'd get excited about this so DPIRD is the amalgamation of the Department of Fisheries, the Department of Agriculture and Food and the Department of Regional Development. Broken into 4 pillars: sustainability and biosecurity, industry and economic development, primary industries development and corporate services. The most important part being food industry development, which is us. Over here, we sit under agribusiness, food and trade. And the other partner programs in agribusiness, food and trade are agribusiness development, investment services, program management and the trade team. If you're interested in any of the services offered by the rest of the AFT team, the guys here will help you out in terms of who the appropriate contacts are and the programs that they run. And our team, so we mentioned the spread. We've got John Berry, based down in Bunbury. He's particularly active in the alcoholic beverages space from a professional perspective. He also looks after our connection through programs like the Business Excellence Awards, and he's been working on the state brewing strategy in recent times. Phil May, you've probably heard enough from Phil today, but so Phil's talked about the projects that he's been involved in, but as I said, Phil also brings that wealth of experience from a long history in the wine sector and a lot of experience in the export area as well. Nikki, out of our Albany office, who's working on both the Aboriginal Agri-Food Market Opportunities Program and also the education collaborations. Tilwyn, who's our voucher man, that occupies the bulk of his time. He's also involved in the business visits and with the organics report. David, domestic market pathways, food for health, and the alternate proteins space. And David having that long experience working in the retail sector and with large food and beverage manufacturing companies. So that's really a new skill set for us, having someone in the organisation, who's worked in companies like McCain's and Sara Lee and larger food manufacturers. Felipe is working on our shoestring program. Amelia, who's doing the guides, they have other activities, but these are the main ones of relevance that we've spoken about today. And Laura's main job is basically to keep Phil and myself and David in line. That's a full-time job in itself, but she's also helping out with the business visit coordination and the events management. And as I said, mentioned those other areas. If you want any information on any of those, we're happy to help you out. Other parts of DPIRD, the commissions, fisheries, and the other pillars of the organisation. I won't dwell on these too long. We spoke about Oz Industry. I might get David to say a few words here, if I may.
We're actively engaging with Oz Industry from a department point of view so that we can then start to share their information out with you where it's applicable, and then vice versa, when they're working with businesses, then they can revert back to us with the programs and other areas that we operate in. So they engage with business. There's lots of guidance on government programs. They connect to local stakeholders, gathering business and regional intelligence and support SMEs. Now, they just don't work across the food and beverage manufacturing segment, they work across all segments within Western Australia or federally as well. They have a number of different programs, grant programs available that may or may not be applicable to you, but certainly what we're working on is, you know, all the different programs that are available for businesses to apply for. They've just recently launched two big programs, one through the National Reconstruction Fund, which is low-cost loans for businesses or guarantees for businesses, and also they have some another program if you're a business gearing up, looking at feasibility studies and then looking at scale up. There's programs to support businesses in that area, and that's for SMEs. So it's for businesses with a turnover of below $20 million a year. So it's focused on SMEs as well. Number of other programs there as well. WA Investment Attraction Fund, I think our voucher program may have made it on there, maybe not. We're working on it. You know, there's the R&D tax incentive grant. So for all your R&D, there's a tax incentive that can be claimed back from the government. So there's a lot of programs within Oz industry there to support business.
Thank you. You can keep going if you want.
I don't think there's any other slides. What's next?
The Sustainable Innovative Food...
I was going to talk
about it. Go on.
This is a wonderful new facility that's taken a number of years to be built and get up and running. There's technology going in for business to be able to trial products, different types of technology. So they've got a retort machine in there now. They've got a HPP, high pressure pasteurisation machine in there for different types of products that can be run through that machine. They've got mixing bowls. They've got dispensing lines or packing lines. So there's a number of different food manufacturing facilities within that facility for businesses to go in and use and rent that space. So if you're upscaling your volume, if you want to trial a new product, that space is available for rent. What we've asked from the business manager down there who works in our office is to put together a booklet of what technology is available, what are the specifications, what type of packaging does it use on those particular packing lines, what is the cost to use that facility, so we have that information. So as businesses look to scale up, trial different products, that facility is there available, and you can understand prior to visiting the facility what is the requirements, what do you need to meet, also what are the certifications that facility has in place as well. They'll provide all the staff for running the manufacturing line, etc. The QA facility as well for the quality assurance of your products, do the testing, etc. Also down there is Murdoch University running their food technology, I think it is, based there. Yeah, looking on the other side. But, you know, it's a wonderful new facility. It is open. There is an open day on Monday, Friday the 23rd. Yep, so you can register from 1 p.m. and you can book a tour. So register for that. We can share the link with you for that as well, and that's part of sort of a side event to Evocag that's starting on Monday as well. On a sideline with Evocag, if you're interested in lean manufacturing, we've got one of Australia's most reputable people in WA speaking about lean manufacturing at the Hilton Hotel, Carlton Ritz. There you go. So the company's called TXM. Yeah. The company's called TXM, and the gentleman holding the presentation is Tim McLean. That presentation is free. It goes for about 3/4 of an hour. So if you're looking at your manufacturing process within your business, Tim's offering a free speech there around lean, and you can engage with them and discuss with them further. They'll be there most of the day, but it's a free event. You can register, and it only goes for half an hour, 3/4 of an hour with networking afterwards. That's it, right?
We'll see.
Okay.
While we're on the subject of lean manufacturing, at the start of the presentation, Laura talked about some of the major events that are coming up. There's also a calendar of smaller capability building events that we run throughout the year. What we try to do is base those around demand from industry. So you'll have access to a list which will tell you what's coming up, and based on how many people show interest in a particular event, we determine whether we actually bring those people here. So Tim, for example, who's coming over to deliver the lean manufacturing, last time we had him here, I think you might have gone to that, Jim, but last time we had him here, we had a really good turnout for that. We try and space things out, so we don't bring someone to do lean every year. We might bring someone every 3 or 4 years, but really it's the businesses that determine who we bring to WA. So if we get 100 people register for packaging workshop, it goes ahead. If we get 5 people register for something else, we'll let that go and we'll move on to the next event. So it's really based on demand from businesses. Okay, look, I guess I said earlier, a lot of the stuff that we do is really based around partnerships. So we were never going to have, 50 staff. We're always looking at how can we be most efficient in terms of what we deliver, and so a lot of it's delivered through partnerships. So David's talked about the Oz Industry example. We have a lot of partnerships. What we try to do is act as a conduit. So we might not be the subject matter expert on, let's say, Phil was talking about some of the packaging solutions. We try to develop a general level of knowledge that allows us to provide the right connection to whoever the national expert is or the state expert is on that topic. These are some of the examples of the organisations that we work with, but a big part of our role is that facilitation and provision of connections. Okay, might have finished on time for once, Laura. Normally these sessions run on time unless I'm one of the presenters, and if I'm one of the presenters then they run well over, but such is life. Any questions?
The vouchers, do you have to pay them back eventually or not?
So the voucher is on maybe ask again the regions can hear it.
Yeah, the vouchers, do you have to pay them back or is it just...
No, you have to pay first. Yeah. So basically how the vouchers work is that you identify the issue that you need to address. The DPIRD will fund up to 50% of the voucher value. So if you're getting a $5,000 voucher, then the total value of the work might be $10,000. But it really ranges. We've had businesses that have had $500 vouchers, and we've had businesses that have had $10,000 vouchers. Effectively, the work is commissioned. When the work is completed and you're satisfied with the quality of what's been delivered and we're satisfied, then you pay your portion, we pay our portion. So that's how they operate.
Are there any questions in the regions? Broome? No. Dandaragan? No. Any questions? Okay. Esperance? All right, we've got one more here.
It's just a question about is it Tim McLean?
Yes.
Seminar? Will that be live streamed or something? Or?
So one of the challenges we have in terms of material that's live streamed is whether the presenter is happy for that material to be publicly available. Obviously, with a product like lean manufacturing, it's their proprietary information they're sharing. So we generally don't get to live stream those types of things. The things we're offering that are more, say, things like the sustainability stuff that's backed up by organisations that are national government organisations or funded organisations, a lot of that we do live stream. But,
Yep.
So the vouchers that you offer are specifically for consultants to come in to your business?
Correct, yes.
I was just wondering, is there a directory for general grants that you can apply for?
There is a directory, not a DPERD directory, but there's a program called Grant Guru, which effectively lists all the grants operating. That's Australia-wide. Our investment services team have a membership to Grant Guru, so they can assist a business. I mean, you can access it yourself, but also they can assist a business if you've got a specific kind of area of interest. And we've had some just recently, haven't we, David, where, you know, we've had a business looking to go through a certain expansion and they've said, you know, do you guys have anything in that space? We don't, but we've referred them to Grant Guru to have a look at, is there anything operating nationally or through other government organisations, because we're not always informed if, you know, another state government department's running a program unless we find it through our, you know, through our search engines or our contacts. So Grant Guru is probably a good source.
Good to have one spot to go to.
Government run a Grant Connect site. It's called Grant Connect, and if you register, you can put in the different grants that you would be in, like what industry you work in, and it emails you when different grants come up for your, like that are applicable to your industry.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. When are we putting Sarah on the payroll? She.
I'll send you my invoice.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Okay, and so just a few more things to finish off with. So if you want to know more about what else is coming up, whether it's events or other things that are coming, we're also listing up grants that are available as well. You can join our e-newsletter. And then also our WA Food and Beverage Network Facebook group. We share things in there. You guys are also welcome to share things in there about what else is coming up and just have a conversation to help. If you've got any kind of challenges that are coming up, you might be able to network in that group as well. And just finally, remember those questions that we asked you at the beginning of the day. Whether you've written them, you want to write them down and hand in your answers, or if you want to have a chat about it now, you can, speak up if you're in the regions. But otherwise, we can have a chat over lunch now and discuss it. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for attending in the room or online. If you have any feedback about today's session, just let us know. But we will have the recording of this and the slides out to you within the next week or so. Okay, and you'll have all those links to take your next actions. Yeah. Anything in the regions? No? If anybody in the regions has something to add, do you just want to pop your hand up? That was actually good timing. Okay. All right, no worries then. Do anybody else want to say anything? No? Thank you for everybody. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for participating.